Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have with me Nicole Simonin. Emphasis on the
Very
middle
good.
syllable.
You're
Yes.
perfect. You nailed it.
Nicole is an ACE personal trainer, ACE health coach, TEDx speaker, host of the Shape It Up Over 40 podcast, author of let me get this title right, the No Fuss, No Mess Shape It Up cookbook, founder of Shape It Up LLC, which makes sense, licensed physical therapist assistant, and this is really interesting, former professional ballet dancer. We probably won't talk about that much in this conversation, but that's awesome. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm so happy to be here too.
Let's start at the start. Let's begin at your beginning. And I'll ask this as a two-part question. How did you figure out that you maybe already were a coach / discovered that you are a coach and kind of started seeking it out as a profession? And then how did you find yourself starting a coaching business?
Great question. So just to dive back into, I started off as a ballet dancer, and there was a lot of body image stuff that went on in that career for me. A lot of disorganized eating. And as I traversed through my career and went into physical therapy and then personal training, it just kind of all led up to the same, to where I am now. I know for me, COVID was a really pivoting point for me because I started my business in 2006. So I've been doing this for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I started, the technology was absolutely horrendous. And I started online because I was pregnant and just wanted something else to do to keep my mind occupied. But I didn't really discover I was a coach. I mean, I was a trainer. And as I was working with people, doing private training and going through my own personal journey, I am 48 and a half. And when 40 hit, I was like, there's some things that are changing. And with the background of the ballet and the body image and just, a lot of needing outside validation for how my body looked, those kind of things. I went through my own personal journey and I realized a lot of the things that I was working on was really working very well. And a lot of it was mindset coaching. So I started putting it on my clients and I was like, wow, they're getting great results too. So that's kind of how I kind of fell into the health coach aspect. I've always loved teaching. I was teaching when I was in ballet. As a ballet dancer, you have at least 4 other jobs to make up for the pay. But yeah, I was teaching and just doing all kinds of things just to it's interesting. Like I said, when I look back, it's really how I kind of honed my craft as I went through my years of getting to where I am now.
Yeah, it always seems like it is that process of discovery where you're like, what's the I'll probably butcher the phrase, but it's chipping away the marble to find the statue underneath,
Mm-hmm.
Where just as you're moving through life, it's not all subtractive. There's a lot of additive too. So it's an imperfect analogy, but it's one I've always been drawn to because as you're moving through life, you feel like you're just kind of tap, tap here, tap, tap there. Sometimes a little crumb falls off. Sometimes a big chunk falls off. And you're like, I don't know what I was doing there for a while, but interesting. I could see a new shape coming out. It's so fascinating. And how that, looking back, you can see all the points of your story. You're your journey makes sense. But when you're in the middle of it, you kind of feel lost. And that's obviously that's where that urge, that coaching urge, that mentoring training urge, where you're like, oh, I know that feeling that you're feeling of you're not quite sure what shape your life is taking. I went down that same road or a very similar road. Here's what helped me. And then just bring it back and pay it forward at the same time, I suppose.
Yeah. And I too, looking back, I loved being a ballet dancer, but I even more loved working in physical therapy. And then I even more loved personal training. And now I'm I am in my zone. So if there's anything after this, I can't wait to find out what it is because it's going to blow my mind.
It becomes almost ecstatic, It's it's that embarrassment of riches where you're like, man, I got a lot of joy and meaning and purpose in my life. I'm looking around
and that's okay to have.
Am I okay with that? I think I'm okay with that. I think I should actually help other people find that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
So let's talk about your business today, or at least you mentioned COVID with some significant pivots. What's your business been like the last couple of years? What's it like now? Who do you primarily coach, and also how do you coach them? I know different coaches, pretty much every coach has a slightly different approach. Maybe they focus on one-to-one coaching, or they small group, or maybe larger group. So yeah, what's your approach? Who you coaching, and how you coaching them these days?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, when I turned 40, that was really kind of the shift. So I work with women over 40 who are really done with diets because, again, like I said, the first part of my career as a personal trainer and with ballet, not so much with ballet, so much like we were taught to basically starve yourself and then binge eat after the performance. Not quite so healthy, right?
Yeah.
And then when I started my Shape It Up, it was like the grueling workout. Here's the meal plan. Here's the this, and I would do that for myself. And when I got to 40, I was like, I don't want a food log for the rest of my life. I don't want to micromanage my food. And what I found is a lot of the women that come to me, they're really micromanaging. They're like, tell me about the macros. I'm like, you don't really need to know about macros. Just
Yeah.
so yeah, my philosophy is really no foods off limits. Like I said too, is like I started learning about the psychology of like why we do what we do or we don't do, and like understanding how we get the results that are popping up in our lives. And we just think that they just show up. And that's not true. We are deliberately making conscious or unconscious choices and decisions and thoughts and the way we feel about everything. And that's what is giving us the results that we have. So if you're not happy with the results, you need to shift. And a lot of that comes from the mindset piece. And when I found that, I was like, oh, I just found like the holy grail. Like this is the secret sauce. The other thing too with Shape It Up, when I started, like I said, I gave my clients the grueling workout and the meal plans and all that stuff. And I'm running into them later on in life and they haven't kept the weight off. They lost it when they worked with me. So when I started implementing this in my current clients, I would say over the past 5 years, they're losing it for good. And that's what we want, right? We don't want to lose it for, 6 months and then gain it back and play that yo-yo diet game.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've really developed the formula for women over 40. I mean, even if you're not 40, you will be there one day.
Uh-huh. You're gonna
And
get
yeah,
there.
and it's so simple and doable and easy. And most of my clients that start working, they're like, I don't understand why the fitness and industry or diet industry doesn't present it this way. And I was like, I don't know either. Maybe it's the dollars. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The people that I work with are mostly executives, CEOs, some celebrities, entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches. I currently do one-on-one coaching, which is done exclusively online, which I love because as a personal trainer, when people are coming to me, there's only 20-mile radius that you can reach. Now I can see people all over the world. And it blows my mind each time I think about the technology that we have today. So as far as like the process, I don't have like a cookie cutter type thing. So when any client comes to me, I'm really meeting them where they're at and then going from there. But there are things that I know that they have to kind of implement. I do give them a personalized workout plan that they can do on their own through my own app. I have one guideline for eating because I believe there's no foods off limits. We do weekly coaching calls via Zoom and access to me between coaching calls through Messenger. And then I have the access to my on-demand learning vault, which is called Master Your Mind, Change Your Body, which is like the foundational work of everything that I've compiled since 2006. So, yeah.
So many resources. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I want it to be like, there's some people that dive in and they just want to learn everything. And then there's some people that just want to kind of like just talk, and kind of go through week by week and not feel like overwhelmed. And so that's available for everybody. It's a beautiful, I'm just so grateful for COVID again, because, and I'm sure not many people that you interview say that, but like there was a great pivot there and it really gelled nicely.
It is hard to, it can be challenging to speak about because obviously we're, in many ways still in it, and it wasn't sunshine and roses for most people, but there was, with anything that happens in the world, there's always at some point that point, like in your own personal life, where maybe when you were in the moment you were experiencing something that was not great in the moment, but you look back and you see what you were able to draw from it, who you became because of it, in spite of it, through it, and then you look back at that and you see that thing through the lens of all that you've become and all the joy that you have now. And I know this, I'm starting to sound a little bit like mushy, but that's just kind of the way I feel about it. Like it really does, it really is a natural human process that if we're willing, we can see it. We can have that joy, we can have that satisfaction, we can have that sense of purpose and growth and meaning. That's just, I mean, I say the word magical a lot, but really it's not magic. It's just human life, you know, but like it still feels magical.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings is life happens for me, not to me.
Mm.
Because I feel like exactly what you're saying. Like, even if you're in the worst rock bottom moment, you can't have darkness without light. There's got to be, those two contrasts in order to know what the other one is. Because if you don't have one without the other, you don't know. But yeah, even when you're in rock bottom, I mean, a lot of great things come out of that. Take COVID, for instance. I mean, there was a lot of awesome things that came out of it.
Yeah. I mean, we're here today and we're
Yeah,
in two different places. We probably would never have met other than because we
exactly.
now have these even more robust networking capabilities, ways to meet people, to engage, to connect. It's scary and exciting, which really is almost the same feeling.
Right.
There's one quote that it's really, once I heard it presented this way, it really kind of it resonates with everything that we've been talking about. And it's really been helping me to reflect on why I do what I do, why I am the way that I am, the choices that I make. There's often that feeling of confusion where you just like, you don't really understand why you can't make these changes that you want to make, or are behaving in a particular way that you don't understand why. And you like looking back for answers, and you can kind of tease it out here and there. But one thing that I found myself reflecting on so frequently to help me shed some light in certain darknesses is asking myself, what am I unwilling to feel?
Mm-hmm.
And then letting myself sit with that question and realize it's like, oh, this is the way it is in my life because I'm willing to feel this way.
Yes. Yeah.
And so then it's like one of those things where it's like one of those big cascading domino questions where I'm like, oh, okay. So and then it goes from there. But yeah, everything that you were saying really, it resonated with that quote that's been very, very core to me for the last few years. And I just, I got just chills thinking about it because now I'm like, my brain is like cascading out to all the different things, what am I unwilling to feel?
Yeah. Well, that's what I feel like. That is like the concept of the mindset piece that I have with my business, in the sense of like, you don't, like, as a woman, you don't want to be 120 pounds, or even as a guy, whatever your dream weight is, you don't want that. You want the feeling that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you want that essence of whoever that person is. That's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could be 130 and have that essence and the number doesn't matter. Or you could be 105. Yeah. So like, and I think that's across the board, whether you want financial, lots of money in the bank, there's a feeling that you're looking for, whether it's security or whatever. And and if you can sit with a feeling, especially those icky ones,
mm-hmm. Getting scary.
You can conquer anything in the world. Yeah.
I could not agree more. And I also could continue this conversation for hours. I feel like we have, I legitimately feel like we have at least like a half dozen, if not more, little off ramps to like, just like maybe we'll do a podcast series. I'm kidding.
Sounds great.
Speaking of podcast series, let's talk about where people can find you, hear you, see you, maybe meet with you and interact with you for the first time. Like, what social media do you like to really engage with people on? Let everybody know where to get a hold of you, where to find you.
Yeah, well, my hub is shapeitupfitness.com. That's my website. So pretty much everything is there. If you want to listen in on the podcast, it's Shape It Up Over 40 podcast. It is on all, as far as I know, the podcast hosting sites, but Apple or iTunes, whatever they want to call themselves nowadays. It is there. I generally hang out on Facebook. Facebook there. I dabble in the other ones here and there, but Facebook, you can definitely find me. My personal page, you can come over there. I do have a free group for women. It's called Women Over 40 Ditch Diets and Lose Weight. And that is also in Facebook too.
Awesome. Yeah. Facebook is still, obviously it's at this point, it's the elder of the social media platforms. And so it's got a lot of the negativity that it has rightfully accrued over time, but it's still where so many people are at and where so many people are reachable. And it's just like, at a certain point, you may be like, if you don't like a certain social media platform, you just hold your nose or whatever you need to do to serve the people you want to serve, to find them, meet them where they're at. And it's like, it's one of those things I have to remind myself of on a daily basis. Cause social media isn't exactly intuitive for us 40 somethings. It's not exactly a place where we want to be all the time. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you got to be where the people you can help, wherever they're at, find them there. So I love that.
Yeah. With that, and also for me on my end, a Facebook is very easy to use. Do you know what I mean? Like you're limited to LinkedIn on how many characters. Instagram is a whole nother animal. So.
Well, Nicole, this has been fantastic. I don't want to keep you, but I want to keep you. So I'm gonna make myself cut us off now. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, thank you so much. This has really been a lot of fun. And I think you're right. We could talk for 6 hours.
Well, everyone out there listening, thank you so much for listening. Look for parts 2 through 10 sometime in the future. And hey, we'll talk to you again soon.